What's up guys, my name is Ace, and huge surprise, Season 3 Reloaded for Black Ops 6 and Warzone introduced a bunch of new issues with the game, and so in today's video we're going to be covering a good handful of the primary ones that I've noticed so far. This is something that unfortunately just tends to happen with every major update these days, which is quite frustrating. I don't expect every single update to be completely flawless or anything, but it just seems so consistent that after every major update, there's a fairly long list of new issues or returning issues that pop up, and then it takes them a little while to get on top of those. And it's frustrating to be constantly taking several steps forward and several steps back with every update. And this time around, there were some pretty big issues. The number one issue that they've claimed to resolve, but I'm still having some problems here. Yesterday, it seems they broke matchmaking entirely, at least for console players that are using one of the crossplay options. I'm sure many of you guys would have noticed this yesterday while trying to search for games. Matchmaking times were insanely long. Like, I'm talking several minutes just to get into a match. And for me, I was just trying to level up and get some gameplay with the new Ladra SMG for a gun guide that was meant to come out today, but had to be postponed because I couldn't get into enough games with a decent connection. And I was searching for regular team deathmatch games, and team deathmatch is always the most highly populated game mode, at least from back when we could see player counts. And I was playing solo, so there should be no issue getting into a good connection game almost instantly while doing that. And yet I found myself waiting several minutes to get into a match. And then once I would get into a match, usually it was on a very high ping. I was seeing up to around 200 ping, but on average, I was seeing like 70 to 90 ping when I'm capable of getting a 20 ping in this game. So obviously, that's a big issue, especially because before this update, I wasn't having this particular issue. Sure, I always see connection inconsistency in modern Call of Duty, which is frustrating enough as is, but it's usually not nearly as bad as what I was experiencing, and especially with the matchmaking times, those were just brutal. And then I also found, even in the games where my ping was reasonable, we'll say around 40 milliseconds, I was noticing way more desync and a lot more deaths that just felt really unfair and clearly a result of connection-related issues. So the game's actually been pretty terrible for me, outside of the odd match here or there where it's tolerable. Now, like I said, they claim to have fixed this, and in their tweet they said, an issue impacting matchmaking times for players with the on console only and off crossplay settings has been resolved. Players should now be able to find matches with these settings on faster, but both settings will continue to impact overall matchmaking times as outlined in our Season 3 patch notes. And this just isn't aligning with my experience even after they posted this tweet. I'm still finding really long matchmaking times, connection quality still not great. And keep in mind, I'm comparing this experience to just before the Season 3 Reloaded update where I wasn't having these issues at all and I had the exact same crossplay options selected. So I understand and accept the fact that it might take a little bit longer than if I just had crossplay on entirely, but this is clearly a new issue that was introduced with this update. This isn't how things were working before the update. Something changed here. Additionally, they still haven't fixed the issue that they have fixed in the past, but then it came back again, and this is with those crossplay options. They're not saving properly in between matches. If you switch your crossplay option, when you search for a game, that crossplay option you just switched to will apply, but the moment you finish that game and get out of it, it reverts back to your old setting, and that's still broken. They haven't fixed this again yet. There is a workaround to this that I have shared in the past, and it is still working if you want to use this workaround, and this is set your crossplay option to what you want it to be, then immediately close your game without searching for a match first, and then restart it, and then it should save that crossplay option to what you had selected before you close the game. So that's an overview of the big issue that I've been having on the multiplayer side of things since the Season 3 Reloaded update. Although I really noticed this ramp up yesterday on the Friday, so the day after the update actually got worse, it seems. But this one overall is quite serious because the game is playing so much worse than it was previously when it comes to matchmaking and connection quality. So it's not just like a weird edge case bug that you run into every now and then. This is something that's drastically impacting the overall gameplay experience with the game. Next up, a lot of people have been noticing the Perk Greed wildcard is not working properly when trying to edit your classes, and I noticed this as well. Every time I tried to edit my Perk Greed perk, it would swap to a different perk, or it would default to a different perk, and I was having a hard time to get that combination of the two perks that I wanted in the regular slot as well as the Perk Greed slot. And it turns out this is just like defaulting to the wrong tab. So you have to make sure when you open up your perk tab, you have to actively tab over to your Perk Greed setting now, instead of it automatically doing that like it should be, and then select the perk that you want from there. This one's pretty easy to work around if you just like pause for a second, take some time to think about it, and work your way through the problem. But it's something that shouldn't be happening and wasn't happening before this update, so that one's frustrating. Another thing is I'm seeing, once again, increased reports of hardware-level performance issues, primarily on PlayStation, but a lot of PC users as well, reporting a lot of new performance issues that aren't connection-related, they're hardware-related, so lots of frame drops, stutters, skips, crashes, things like that. And this is something where I saw that ramp up a lot for me with the Season 3 update. And for me at least, I did find that clearing my cache on PS5, which I will leave a link down below on how to do that, since unfortunately it's not as easy as just like going into your settings and hitting one button to clear your cache. But I did find for me that actually did improve my stuttering issues on PS5. So if you guys are experiencing that, give it a shot. It might work for you. It might not at the same time though. There's no guarantee here, but it did improve things for me a little bit. So give that a shot. Either way, there are some clear performance issues that are getting worse for a lot of people, it seems. Next, I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed the level 1 glitch is back, where when you get into a lobby and even looking at the scoreboard, everybody appears to be level 1 in your game when they're obviously not level 1. And I think a related issue with that is the friends list is totally messed up. It's not showing who's online, or people that are showing that are online, it shows that they're like all in the same game when they're not in the same game. So that's another issue that's frustrating to deal with if you're trying to play with friends. There's also a voice chat bug I've seen reported. I don't use voice chat myself, so I haven't run into it, but I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this one, where the little indicators that pop up on your screen when somebody talks in their mic, they're just being stuck on your screen even into the next game, and you have to restart your game entirely to get rid of those. Another thing that they apparently fixed at this point, that was a minor annoyance at least when Season 3 Reloaded first dropped, when somebody was kicked for inactivity, there was a distracting text field that would apply across your entire screen, like from the kill feed all the way over to the center of your screen. And that was kind of annoying because it was quite distracting. If that happened like right before a gunfight, for instance, that would be distracting enough to throw me off before that gunfight took place. And that one sucked, but like I said, they've at least said they've taken care of that one. I haven't been able to get into enough matches to confirm, but they said they fixed it. And then, still, to this day, the Armory is bugged for a lot of people, and there are items in the game, gameplay items, especially the belt-fed mod. This seems to be the most prevalent one, where it's just not appearing in the Armory for people that missed out on unlocking it with the event where it was initially available. And that's a really big issue. There's gameplay content that they literally can't access in the game, and they should have full access to that, and yet they don't. And this is an issue that's been around for a while now. It's not a new issue with Season 3 Reloaded, but it's something that they should really be getting on top of, as well as another persistent bug that's still there, and this is the Dreadnaught bug, where after you use a Dreadnaught, you are often going to be locked into whatever stance you were in when you called that Dreadnaught in, and you're stuck with that until you end up dying, which is frustrating if you're going on a big streak, which you usually are if you're calling a Dreadnaught in. And I think one of the most frustrating things with all of these issues I just outlined is looking at their Trello board right now. There are 0 current issues listed on their Trello board at the time of recording this video. Apparently, according to their Trello, everything's running perfectly. There are no issues, there are no known bugs, no known problems with the game, and everything should be running flawlessly. And that's obviously not the case. There are a bunch of new issues, a bunch of persistent issues, and some returning issues that, as far as we're aware, they have no idea exist. And so far, I've just been talking about the multiplayer side of things. From what I've seen just looking on Reddit and Twitter, there's also a ton of pretty serious issues with the Warzone side of things. I think they have been getting on top of those issues just based on the COD Updates Twitter feed, but it seems they broke some pretty big areas with the Warzone side as well. And it's just really frustrating to be seeing this after nearly every major updates, just the sheer number of bugs and issues that pop up. It's really overboard. Like I said, I'm quite forgiving when it comes to a few new bugs popping up from time to time. I realize this is a massive game with a ton of moving parts, and you're bound to have some issues pop up here or there, but the way they're handling these bugs, or straight up not handling them or acknowledging them, and the way that they're not even communicating about many of these bugs is the most frustrating part to me. But of course, these are just my thoughts and my experiences so far after the Season 3 Reloaded update. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Have you guys been experiencing any of the bugs that I outlined today? And do you have any other bugs that you've been experiencing that popped up with Season 3 Reloaded that I didn't mention in today's video? If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.